Hi, welcome to Authors Alcove. This is Agnes Wolf. Today I am speaking with Matthew Wilson. He is the author of a science fiction novella titled Sensing the Swing. Do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Matthew. I'm 33, father, husband, working on my second college degree. I have a kind of crazy, wild history working in IT, and I'm just kind of an everyman. I just kind of aim to be, honestly.
Nice. Okay, so you wrote this novella. It looks like a few years ago, about 5 years ago, maybe 7.
Yeah.
It published 7 years ago. What inspired you to become a writer?
So what inspired me to be a writer in general was my first exposure to Edgar Allan Poe in, I think, middle school. The Raven was probably one of the first works I actually read. You know, it's really just kind of the classic thing to reference, but that's really just how it happens. Like, people talk about it so much, it's one of the first things you investigate. So I read his works, and I got reading Langston Hughes and Emily Dickinson. One of the first books I really attempted to read cover to cover was A Tale of Two Cities. You know, like, that's where just my imagination went, like watching empires crumble and fall. So I've always wanted to be the one to push a pen to see an entire universe happen on screen.
That is so awesome. One of my husband's favorite stories is The Raven, and he'll quote parts of it. I think he knew all of it at one time, which is ridiculous because it's forever long. But I love that poem as well. So you wrote Sensing the Swing. What inspired this particular piece?
So interestingly enough, the main inspiration of that character, Isaac, the name itself is a nod to heroes, because like when it came to superhero like stories and the way that they should be emotionally driven, heroes really set the bar for me. Like the way that you can see the scene direction shift between characters is beautiful.
So Heroes, the TV series that was out.
Yes.
Okay.
Heroes really gave me the motivation to actually put pen to paper.
And I noticed that in one of your reviews, it said something about looking forward to seeing the rest in the series. Were you going to make this a series?
Yes. And this is, you can talk to anybody that has been in my life for as long as that book has been in existence, or that idea. I think even the original cover art for that one that I drew on the computer crudely when I was in high school is still on my Facebook page. And I have the original art that I commissioned for one of my former friends in that area downstairs in my basement. Like, that project is so near and dear to my heart. Oh man. Yeah. I had intended for that book to be, followed up with 7 more stories based off perspectives in that book. And recently I had planned to write 22 short stories that would fully flesh out the whole time period that story took place. But I've been so frantic, I can't get down anymore.
Well, with being a father, a husband, and going to school, and I'm assuming working as well, I can understand why that would be difficult. So do you mind just giving giving me the plot of the story without giving any spoilers?
Oh yeah, that's actually, I've been talking about it my whole life. That's really easy. Okay, so Sensing the Swing. The plot of the story is Isaac has dreams of the future, and the more he writes about his dreams of the future, the more he meets the individuals from those dreams he's had.
Oh, so because one thing that caught me in the description, it says, what happens when your written word creates your future? So he's able to create the future, or is he not intentionally creating the future?
You don't know until the end.
Hey. Okay.
No. But here's the kicker. Here's where the actual phrase of the whole series makes sense. You don't know the swing of the events until the events have been unfolded. And the rest of the story that I was working on this year was supposed to tie all that in.
So does the main character have any special powers like those in Heroes? Or is that telling too much?
It's impossible to answer that question correctly without proper context to the story.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm trying to get spoilers out of you, apparently.
Nah, no, that's my baby. Nah.
So I noticed that the book description also says, when you've spent your entire life hiding from a world that needs you. And I know, like, we had talked a little bit previous to this, and you were talking about how your own healing journey and how one of the things that you had to learn through your own healing journey was to take up space. And that kind of, I found some parallels there. Is this at all autobiographical? Is Isaac, I should say.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I guess you could say that from the perspective of my inner child, you know, because I don't really ever allow my inner child to really just be an inner child, because I had such a difficult time as a child being a child, you know? So, yeah.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you found healing through the writing process?
Yeah. So this is where this may get difficult for me, actually, because I'm still kind of learning how that really just kind of, you know, got me there. Once I realized that I didn't have a clear idea of my inner child anymore as an adult, you know, just as an adult trying to reflect on my inner child, I couldn't really picture him anymore. I had to dig up old pictures of my life. I was like, oh yeah, dude, there I am. What's up, bro? Like, it was a really cool thing. And I was going through my pictures that I had over the years, and I'm like, man, I really have gotten really dope over the years. So like, I had to just go back and really look at myself. And I'm like, okay, under ideal circumstances, how would Matt have grown up? You know? So I looked at the comparison. I was like, okay, so if that was me with the ideal circumstances, but these pictures are me under what I went through, like, there's nothing that can stop me. So I just got to figure out how to let this kid express himself in a proper way. So I started painting. I let my arms just be loose because I'm a writer. I'm always uptight in my shoulders. So I'm like, okay, let's go paint. Let's go be loose. So that got me writing again.
That's awesome. So do you have any works in the progress right now that you think you will be releasing in the next? I know you're pretty busy, but do you have any hopes and desires as far as the near future?
So that's where the pretty busy comes along. I'm a very avid, active, and persistent digital artist. Like, my Instagram is constantly refreshing with art that I work on all the time, because I'm also working on a film pitch to one of my favorite video game studios, Rockstar Games. I actually designed and started to write the intricate details of at least like a 26 film project based on the Grand Theft Auto video game franchise. And I've done the cover art for that for the past 6-7 days, I think. I think I actually just wrapped that series up because I'm just getting burned out. But yeah, I was working on that because I want to start writing more and using video game motivation, because I like the game so much, to really get a movie done, would just kind of help me along with that process. Is
your Instagram public or is it private?
Oh, it's public. You can find me on Instagram at Matthew.sunset.
Matthew.sunset. I tried looking for it, and I came up with a private account, and I was like, that's either his or... Okay. Let's see if I found... Oh, I found it. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Thank you. So along with that, I'm working on a podcast with someone overseas, speaking with regards to politics and how we can use our own personal lessons to actually influence change for the feminine perspective of the workplace.
Oh, nice. You'll need to send that along with me so I can make sure I put that in the show notes, and maybe even kind of share with the audience before your podcast comes out, or this particular podcast. Have you started that podcast, or hasn't launched yet?
It has not launched yet. Her and I just had the initial interview a couple of days ago. The first episode records this week, so it won't be out until next month.
Wow, so you are super busy. I'll definitely be linking.
I do a lot.
Yes, you do. Okay, so as far as going back to sensing the swing, in what ways did your past shape this story?
Delicately. It was more of a test of my own writing ability for myself to see how many different perspectives I could come up with and maintain the longevity of, right? So how long can I carry a 7-person conversation while also telling a story? That was a challenge. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I've been working on the story in my head so long because I haven't written it. Like, I have literally a whole universe of ideas about the story that I just haven't had the ability to write down.
And I noticed, did you happen to do the cover art for this particular book?
No. Wait. Which one? I need. Can you describe which one you're looking at? Because there was one I did. I'm not sure if I actually put it to the book or not.
It's a. Oh my goodness! The sand in this time hourglass.
Hourglass. Okay.
My brain was not working.
No, I did not do that. That was a commission to someone from someone in Japan.
Do you mind sharing some of the background behind the title, Sensing the Swing? I know you did a little bit already.
Yeah. So Sensing the Swing is kind of like my own version of what goes around comes around. Like, just swings on a swing set, right? Like, you're either on the swing or you're not. And it's either in motion or it's not, you know? So the swing will only go as far, as high, or as fast as you push it, but it has to be pushed or it's going to just go with the winds, right? So if you don't swing the momentum of the swing, you're not going to sense how far you need to actually push into it.
I like that. That's really interesting. And so I know you wrote this quite a while ago, just going to your art right now, because, you know, I'm here looking at your Instagram. How long have you been actually doing art?
I started doing art. I started digital art in 2015, and self-taught.
So you started doing this right after you published this particular book?
Yeah, about a year after, I think. Yeah.
Oh, cool. It is. Some of the stuff is very impressive.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
So I'm taking a look at some. Is some of this like chalk? Like what mediums do you use for your art?
So for the most part, it's all digital art. But there are some paintings in there that I've done at the bottom.
I think I'm looking at the paintings right now.
Yeah. So at the bottom, there are paintings. It's acrylic paint, but that painting specifically, that is about 15 hours of waiting for colors to dry so I could go over it again with white paint to go over it again later with another layer of a lighter color.
It's very intense, like very cool.
Thank you.
So I know a lot of what we talked about on the phone prior to this was we were talking a lot about like your mental health journey and the writing process and all of that. So in your own mental health journey, what is the one thing you feel you have learned that helped you the most heal, that you think that others could really pull from, whether it be with your writing, with your art, or neither of the above?
The ability to put pen to paper, honestly. Because since I have depression and ADHD, it's very difficult for me to sometimes, figure out what is best for me in that moment, because I can't figure out if, like, how much of my depression is affecting my ADHD decision making, or how much of my decision making while I'm depressed is affected because I have ADHD as well. So it's two sides of the same coin I have to figure out how to fight through. So if I can write down a couple of things I know I need to get done that day, putting pen to paper to get the process started, everything else is small in comparison, because getting out of bed for someone with depression is the hardest thing you have to do. So if the second hardest thing you have to do is write it down, what's the third? Getting it done? Oh, come on. Compared to number 1 and 2, what else you need to do, man?
I don't think people who do not have ADHD understand that it actually is the hardest part is putting it down on paper and to-do list, because prioritizing is what we're not good at. We just we're like squirrel. Oh, I want to do that. No.
Yep.
So right now, Where are you finding your healing since you're not currently working on writing?
I find my healing in the phrases between describing the works I'm doing artistically. Because I still have to come up with like something to describe the post for social media. I still have to find ways to integrate like some attention from the words to the visual for Facebook or Instagram or whatever, so I still have to find some descriptions. And I'm a creative writer just by passion. Like that's like, I could sit here and spin phrases all day just because I love to twist a phrase. It's just my favorite thing to do. It's hilarious. I love it. But like, I still have to translate that interaction, that energy into words to describe the work. Right.
Right.
So like I draw a lot on the background information of my life in comparison to what the work itself is saying for the project. Right.
So where do you see yourself in the next 10 years with all the different projects? What would you like to accomplish?
Running my own production house within 5 different areas of the entertainment industry, both music production, clothing production, adult entertainment, and behavioral therapists and specialists for those affected by those industries.
Which of those areas are you most passionate about?
The intellectual advancement of the human mind through artistic development.
Nice. And for those who are also passionate about that, what would your recommendations for them to grow in that area?
Whatever your favorite thing to do is, if it's a task, write that task down, right? So even if your favorite thing to do is to make art, write make art down on a piece of paper, and then write 26 things down from A to Z about that thing that make you say, this is why I like that thing so much, right? Because once you list A to Z, the alphabet of what makes you tick about that subject, you from A to Z know your shit, So then you can just go on with your ADHD between those 26 topics about that specific task you like to do to narrow your life down into that task. So nothing about your life doesn't make any sense because everything is related in some way to the task you like to accomplish the most. So I make art. Everything I do is make art.
You definitely break down how we have to function as ADHD people very well. I definitely can.
I dealt I was in customer service at a bank for 2 years. I did nothing but get screamed at, right? So I did nothing but learn about the things that I was doing wrong in relation to conversations, right? So I internalized all of that, as people with depression and ADHD tend to do, to figure out all the things that I was doing wrong, just with the tasks that I like to accomplish, right? Because if they're going to judge me over there when I'm getting paid for something stupid, I might as well get judged here when I'm trying to get paid for something I love too.
Very, very true. Yes.
So I judged myself on every single level that I heard that was actually appropriate. The things that I actually did take fault in, I accepted that, took it to heart, and made change in it. So I'm like, okay, where do I go now?
You mentioned you're going back to school. What are you going for?
This is where it gets interesting. And the things I do don't make a lot of sense in comparison to what I'm saying, but this is exactly what I mean by that. My initial major was graphic design, but I don't like going to school for something I actually want to get paid for. So then I went to visual arts. I'm like, okay, well, that's even worse. So I changed my major. I'm changing it now to communications because I could talk all day, whether I'm getting paid or not. So,
and that's something that will really help you in life, regardless of what avenue you decide to go down.
Exactly. Yeah.
So as far as back to your little novella, what was the message that you were hoping to pass with that particular piece?
That's really just one big book about dreams, because that's what books are to me. They're just entries into someone else's dream of a story, someone else's wet dream of a story. Honestly, that's what it is. Like if someone could write their own story, however they would do it, that's what it is. Right. So it's really just my ode to science fiction, that even if you have a dream, even if it's shoddy, like even if the craftsmanship is garbage, like even if you put your heart and soul into it and it looks like a shining turd, at least you accomplished a dream of yours.
Very true. Thank you so much. And the very last thing I want to ask, and this goes back to the writing, is what would be one piece of advice you would give to a not yet published author?
Can I take a second on this one?
Of course.
Because I've never been asked to see things from that perspective, and it's going to take me a second. So,
No problem.
man, that's a good question. Thank you so much for that. What would I say to a not yet published author?
Yep. One piece of advice.
One piece of advice to a not yet published author. If you're now living in a time where literally any of your dreams can come true, why are you not doing the very best you can to make them come true?
I like that. I ask everybody that particular question, and every single person that I ask that to brings something really valuable. And I really, really like what you just said. Thank you very much.
Nice.
All right. So do we have anything to be looking forward to that will have your name, whether it be art or a book or anything in the next year? Is there anything that we should be watching out for you for?
Actually, the only thing my and it's so funny to me because I do so much because I like to do stuff because I have ADHD and like I just I make art. I do it because it's easy. It's like a boom, 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 whatever all day. But the thing I'm focusing right now on, I have a podcast with my brother, my older brother. We've been doing it for a few months. That's called Pull Up and Talk.
Oh.
That's the primary podcast. That's us every week, every Wednesday, just talking about our lifelong histories and just our stuff. So if you want to keep up with me, if you just want to be like plugged in with my progress and projects, Pull Up and Talk on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, is where you can find me the most, honestly.
Oh, cool. So that you had mentioned one that you are going to be starting, but you actually already have a current podcast.
Yeah, and like the separate things I do, I'm associated with them, but I really try to use them as platforms for the other people to launch.
Right.
So I really only talk about them when they're relative to a certain conversation. Like I've got my own little projects over here that, are my base off points, but I only talk about those, again, when they're relevant. So.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate, and I'll definitely be posting about the Sensing the Swing, so people are more aware of that and then get to know you a little bit through as well. So again, thank you so much. And I just want to thank my listeners for listening, especially those who listen all the way to the end. And have a great day.
Thank you, Angela. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome.